Hi, everyone. Welcome to the SWA podcast with me as your host, Joshua from grade 10. And today we have a special guest, Evelyn from grade 9.
Hello, everybody. Very, very honored to be here.
First of all, let's start off with a few lightning questions just to break the ice and just to get the conversation started. So,
Ooh.
Do you like chocolate or vanilla?
I was a vanilla. I loved vanillas, but when it's like dark Belgian and chocolate and rich chocolate, it's so good. So, chocolate.
Are you a cat or dog person?
I'm so indecisive about this because I've always loved dog for all my life, and I've always wanted corgis, especially when they have those little short legs. Like, it's the cutest thing ever. Our school actually has 2 corgis, I think. You can actually see. I saw them yesterday actually. The corgis. So like they would bring in corgis, and it's the cutest little thing ever, and it brings you so much happiness, and it just takes away your stress. But for the few months, I think, because I've been seeing so much cats, and cats are like sassy and sarcastic, and they're like the definition of like just like and it's like the cutest thing ever. So cats for now.
And just following up, the school owns dogs? Is it like guard dogs or like...
It's not guard dogs, they're like corgis. But then I'm not actually sure about it, but then there's 2 dogs that is like you can see around, and they're just the most precious thing ever. They're 2 corgis, and sometimes you can see them bringing around, but then it's not too often. But then like when you see them, everyone is like happy, and everyone is like rejoicing over their short little legs and their cute little butt. So yeah.
That's actually like the opposite of my old school, where sometimes we have like the army people that come in with giant dogs and try like search for drugs and for any like
that's scary.
like illegal items, and then they just come in and they start sniffing, and everyone just like huddles in the corner while the dogs just like rampage our whole classroom. Yeah, it's quite interesting. We have corgis in this school. Wow. Do you prefer earphones or headphones when you're like listening to music or studying?
I do both. I'm very like down to earth, and I'm like open to anything. But then for studying, definitely headphones, because like when you're studying and you're just like, it's just like quiet, and you only listen to your like classical music to study. But then to me, like earphones look like cooler, like it, and they're like little, like small, so it's like more sleek and like they look cooler. So I use that for like normal basis, but for studying, headphones.
Cool. Name a country that doesn't have the letter A in
it. That is so random. Oh my god, is there? Can I ask you the question?
I think this is a question that like a lot of people don't know, and I have no clue. So maybe let's change the question. Do you know a country that doesn't start with the letter A?
I'm so bad at geography. Indonesia doesn't start with an A.
Fair enough. Okay, so what's your favorite day of the week?
Today is Friday, if you guys don't know, but because Friday is just a happy day. Friday after school, you're like, no deadlines tomorrow, no homework. I mean, I do have to do homework and I do have work, but then it's like less pressure because you have no school tomorrow. So Friday is an exciting day for me.
Awesome. Same with me. I don't quite like Saturday as much as Friday because you're like already in the sweet time.
Yeah.
So like, but Friday is much better because like you haven't started.
Yeah.
So like you still have the full time. Yeah.
Yeah.
The weekend is just, and also Sunday is worse than Saturday, I think, because it's like the next day is Monday.
Oh my god, I've been thinking about this. Like last week, I was like, Saturdays are great, but then it's like you're already in it, and then you kind of want to savor it, and you're kind of like back and forth. So like, you get me. Thank you.
Yeah. So maybe now we can move on to the main topic of discussion. Today we want to talk about a bit more about online classes and the pandemic, basically. So I just want to start it off by asking, what do you think of online classes? Do you think it's good, bad? What surprised you? And yeah, what do you think of it generally?
Okay. I started online classes when I was grade 8. I was 13 and now I'm 15. So in that sense, it's like almost 2 years, even though it's like a year. But then I started online school in grade 8. And when everyone got the news, they're like, oh my God, yay, celebrate. Because you don't have to wake up that early anymore and it's all in your bedroom or all in your study room. So at first it was really, really fun. And SWA does a really good job adjusting and adapting. So then all of our classes are pretty organized and it was okay. But then when it gets too much, you're just staying at home 7 hours, looking at your computer, just da 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 da. And then it's kind of almost now more tiring than ever. So I can't wait to go back to SWA at next academic year.
Yeah, I heard that we're going back to school next year in August, I think.
Yeah.
And
August.
from the parent-teacher meeting yesterday. For me, actually, I think online school is quite good. It's just a matter of your stamina of concentrating and being in class. The phenomenon Zoom fatigue,
Ooh,
where students
more.
are tired of being in Zoom, which is one of the online meeting platforms, and it's quite interesting because 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago, we didn't have any of this. We never even imagined we would be using online meeting conference websites. I never really heard of any new ones. I think before we only knew Skype, right? But then suddenly now they're popping up like Google Meet, Zoom, and then there's Microsoft Teams, and yeah, even more like GatherTown and Wonder. They're quite new, and we're already using it in class. But Zoom fatigue, it's basically like how students are getting tired in class of maintaining their perfect surroundings and their perfect stature. So they have to act and look perfect all the time because most of the times the meeting is being recorded, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I think students like to turn off the camera in class, because it's actually quite stressful thinking that everyone's watching it at that exact moment live in your house, which is not really a comfortable place to be showing people around.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think online class for me, especially, the Zoom fatigue comes into a factor. But personally, I think it's quite nice online class. You have much more time to do things. If you want to switch tasks, you can just switch tasks right there. You don't have to move around or go to another place. No moving classes, and it's all on the same platform. So I don't know about SWA in real life because I've never really been to school. This is actually my 4th time being to the campus.
Whoa.
Doing this podcast. So I haven't had trouble finding this room just now. I thought the other room was connected to this or whatever. Yeah, I think maybe I might like SWA in real life better, but for now, I think the online version is so much better than my previous years in school, and I've learned a lot in this pandemic.
So we kind of have 2 different sides. I'm I can't wait for school, and you're loving online school right now, which is great. But I think for the camera thing, I think turning it on and off is huge debate, because turning it off, although it may feel more comfortable for students, it's definitely a lack of school environment, because you don't have the pressure to listen to class. So it is to me if I want to listen, it's better to turn my camera on, because then I can actually focus, and we actually have to turn our camera on in school, and it's more connection, teacher students connection. But I totally get one of those days where you just want to sleep and you don't want to do this anymore and you just want to turn the camera off. So it's still in consideration, but I think for now turning our cameras on are like, I understand like why it's like really important. And for the campus part, like you mentioned about like being like in online, it's just like you just have to sit in one place. But then to me, okay, so in campus, because since you're still new, I'll be the introducer, I'll be the
Sure,
guide. So in campus, we'll have about 5 minutes between subjects, and we move around. Like you see, like we have a lot of different buildings, right? So then we have 5 minutes to move around, and sometimes it's like a bit hectic because you only have 5 minutes to go to like the fifth floor of Da Vinci. But then it's like it's really fun because in those like you like go out and like you go in the nature, like to Da Vinci, to Zhenghe, like there's like a lot of greens. So I find it really, really fun. Even if it's raining, like it's like a whole experience. So like because of online school, I'm like missing a lot of like movement in my days, and I'm missing a lot of like changes and routine because we're just sitting in one place. So yeah, I think I have like a benefit and a bad side to it.
I personally, I never really had moving class in my old school. The teachers come to our class, so like the teachers are the one running around, and when they're late, yeah, it's not our fault. But sometimes we have to like go to like art class, which is in the end of the hall or something. And yeah, I think it'll be cool to experience moving classes in SWA for the first time. That'll
Yeah.
definitely be cool. So I want to ask about some projects that you had in the pandemic. Do you have like
Ooh.
any new like adventures or new maybe some achievements or some big pieces of work that you've been doing?
Ooh, I like that you use adventures. I like that word. I think it's really hard for everyone in the pandemic to like do stuff. But like we're like one of the things that I mentioned that I want to mention is my SDN cast that I'm a part of. Like it's led by like KK and like the Stuco and a lot of people. So a lot of people is involved in this, but like you think of yourself being the lucky ones. Like you have laptops and facilities that can actually help you gain education during online, and like we've learned so much from that. We've learned how to navigate our ways into our technology and adapt our environment. But then there's those people in the lower areas, the lower community areas that don't have the means and don't have the facility to provide online school, which is like really sad, and like that makes me like really grateful. So then we in our SDN cast, like I've been teaching them every Saturday. So we're teaching an SDN Dompu school in NTT, and they basically don't have the means to go online. So they're still in school, and we're teaching them through Google Meet. They're using a phone, and we teach like 5 students every class, 5, 6, 3, like a small amount, but the teachers are very welcoming. Like the teachers there are very cooperative. So then the teachers will actually like prepare them, and the kids are so like they're so like I was an assistant for Pianica teaching, and I love the kids. When I saw that one of them was about to like graduate, like this kid named Reza, and like I was honestly like I was like I'm gonna miss him. I'm going to miss him. And I was like, and me and my friends are like, is this what teachers feel like? Is this what teachers feel like when a student moves out? So that's been really, really fun. And that's been like a refresher of the week every time I go. So I think you should join, by the way. It's really, really fun. It's like only 1 hour, and I love that. How about you?
I actually have like teaching experience too, but in real life before the pandemic. So at one time, it's like a kerja social project, so like a social work project, and I taught a bunch of students, not teaching them like school material, but I helped them like extra lessons to help them do better in school, and I taught them like math and science and stuff, and it was quite cool. I did it with my friends, and we also bought them pizza after we learned as like
pizza.
a motivation booster. And I taught them like 2 or 3 times. but then we stopped because we had the exams coming up. But yeah, it was really cool, and that's one of the reasons why I'm actually doing my book donation app, because one of the things that they lacked there, I think, was proper school books. So like the textbooks and the workbooks sometimes, they don't really have the best access to it, and they might not even have the enough resources to get and buy those books. So my project that I'm working on is actually my personal project for grade 10. It's a book donation app, and it's meant to help people who have the resources, they have the books, to be able to donate to the people who actually need the books. So yeah, that's also one of my plans for this summer, which is to continue this project and build the app on Android instead of iOS, which I did for my PP last year. Yeah.
Whoa, that's actually really cool because I do have like a lot of old books that I don't use, and like it's just sitting in my bookshelf. So hit me up when the app is done. But I think, okay, wait, one question. One very, very serious question. Pizza or hamburger?
I prefer hamburgers, but if it's pizza, I only take pizza hot. If it's not like hot and the cheese doesn't melt, then I just stay away from cold pizza. It's not.
Yes.
But hamburgers, you can eat them while they're cold. I think they're still fine. It's still better than cold pizza.
I actually had this debate with my friends, and like some of them said pizza, and like when I said hamburger, they were like, "What? What?" So like, because hamburgers are just more diverse. Like you have your buns, you have your meat, you can have like lettuce there, you can have onions, you can have so much things. Well, pizza is just like pizza, you know?
Another question. Do you take it with pickles or without?
With.
Same here.
Yes. Oh my god. Because like pickles just, you get a sour kick, and like I love that. How about tomatoes?
Yeah, sure. That's also, I think that's the part of hamburgers, right?
Oh.
When my mom makes it, it's also, yeah, we always use tomatoes.
Oh. I don't like tomatoes. I think I tried them like years ago, and I don't like them. Like they're like mushy and they taste weird.
They taste like raw, right? Like raw vegetables.
Yeah. I don't like that. Okay, back to projects.
Back to the topic. So I heard you have like you did a research with your friend on biology, and could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I actually this was like a scary adventure for me because I've never done research by myself before. I did it with Matthew J, which is like another student in my class, and we basically go to BioTrek's program. So in this program, we actually get mentors, which is like really, really cool. And my mentor is like really, really nice, and he's really, really smart. And he's like an MIT graduate. So like I'm like really lucky to have that. And also like Mr. Hayden has been helping me a ton. Like I'm like so grateful for him and all the teachers' help. So we've been working on a research paper, but because it's online, it doesn't have a lot of lab experiments. We basically worked more with data and statistics. So the research itself is about thymic atrophy, or about our thymus. I'm not sure if you know that, but it's actually an organ, and it's a part of like the immunology system and things like that. So this thymus, put it into simple words, basically helps in the development of your T lymphatic cells, which is like cells that basically you need to kill bacteria, pathogens, whatever. So I'm working, but so basically there's this phenomenon in our system. It's called the thymic atrophy, which is when this organ that is needed to form and for the maturation of T lymphocytes, they shrink. So as you grow older, you're basically creating less and less cells that can fight pathogen, which is why like vaccines is more needed towards like elderlies and which is why when we're older, we're like more likely to get sick, even though we do have like memory T cells and stuff like that. But it's still like a shrinking, and we're still more vulnerable to it. So me and Matthew J and I has been observing like mouse genetic data, and we've observed like many two genders mouse from different like months, and we kind of like observe which one has a lot of changes, and through that we can like infer and talk about why these specific set of cells may be the reason behind our thymic atrophy. So that's what we've been doing. We have created, thank God, we have created the manuscript, and the program basically helps us to like edit the manuscript as well. So they will have other mentors, other teachers, other professors that can look into our manuscript and then edit some out. So we're currently in the process of, changing it to make sure it's publishable and making sure that our informations are verified and it is actually viable for publishing. So we're currently in that process right now, and it's really, really scary. Like when I first started, I was terrified. First of all, I'm working with a mentor, and then I'm like writing a whole research paper, and I had no idea how to do statistical analysis. And like, luckily I have Matthew J, which he's much more knowledgeable around like Google Sheet and data. So he's been helping a lot. I mean, he is part of it. I'm working more on the research and things like that. So at first it was terrifying because you just have this big project in front of you. But then as time goes on, like it gets better. We had a point where we had no idea what to do because our previous idea didn't work. But then thankfully we found another idea through like brainstorming and things like that with the mentor. And now we're editing our manuscript. So hopefully it will be published. And yeah, I think that's interesting.
Oh, that's sounds like a really big project. But how long did that take? Did it take like a few months?
Yeah. Sadly, we started quite late. Like usually people would start the end of the last year. But then we actually started on March, and the due date for the manuscript was May. So we had like 2 months at most. But then we also still have this going along with our exams, summative and stuff. So it was really hard to manage my time. I had a lot of problem with that, and I was so nervous about it because like we started so late, and like how can I make a manuscript about this thing that I have no idea about at May? But then through like support from like Mr. Hayden, our mentor, and Matthew J, and like we've managed to do it, which is great. And now we're just editing.
Yeah, cool. That was like done like during school times, like not in summer, right?
Yeah, that was during
So it was
school.
like a side work. That's cool. How about summer plans? What do you think of what do you plan to do this summer? Because it's going to be your summer from grade 9 to 10, right?
Yeah, it's my first summer that counts because like I'm in high school already, so universities will look at it, which is quite the pressure. But I think I already have a plan. Like I'm joining Interest AI, which is a 2-week program. Are you joining Interest AI?
Yeah, I'm also joining Interest AI, and mine is from July 16th to 19th or something. And I think how about you? When are you joining?
Well, you're like directly after me because I'm early July to July 16 for 2 weeks. So you're like right after the batch right after me. So that's gonna be interesting because I wanna involve like some AI, some programming into my personal project. So I thought taking that class would be really, really helpful. So I have that planned. Yes. And I'm also participating in Harvard Innovation Challenge. Ooh, wait. This year I participated in the second one, which is Harvard Innovation Challenge Southeast Asia 2. and it was incredibly fun, but very stressful. But I've learned so much from it. Like we had to like group up with like random people, and like being a teenager, I'm like scared and nervous. So it was really, really scary. But then like after it, even though I didn't like get any awards or anything, like after it, I promised myself, I was like, for the third one, I will join. So yeah, for summer, I am joining the third one.
And it's all gonna be online, right?
Yeah, it's only for 3 days.
And I'm also thinking of doing some like extra Coursera courses because it's too big of an opportunity to miss. It's one of the big like the big aspects of online school that I like is that you have like unlimited resources, and it's just a waste not to take them. So like the two summer programs that you're taking, they're both online, right?
Yeah.
Plus you might do some like Coursera lessons, and I think there's one Coursera lesson that you wanted to finish, I think.
Yeah, last summer I actually started a Coursera lessons from the University of Michigan, I think. And it's basically about basic neurobiology and neuroscience. But so it was like a 2 to 3 months program, and I've done like half of it. But then since school started, like I started focusing more on school, so I took a break from it. And this summer I am definitely completing it. The summer program itself is really, really cool. Like the professor that's teaching us like was really, really informative, and like have a doc of like neuroscience and things like that, and it's really, really cool. And I've also started, because of our services action, which I like taught some other people about first aid emergency, I started a Coursera course for first aid. So maybe I want to finish that, but I'm prioritizing the neuroscience. Which courses are you planning to take?
For me personally, I'm gonna try and take more of the computer science courses, also to develop my app, which I'm continuing on the Android platform. I think it's really awesome in Coursera because you can they're like professors from MIT and like Harvard, and you can just take their courses and you get certificates when you complete them. Plus, you get to learn at your own pace. For some of them, because some can be like live, I think, but I think those are the pay ones. But yeah, I'm planning to take like 1 to 2 Coursera courses if I have the time. Maybe because of the Inspired AI course, I might take one and have the rest of the time to make my app. But yeah, I guess we both have our summers fully planned out.
I think that's really cool that like you're into programming and stuff. And for Coursera, like I think it's better if you actually get the certificate. So they ask you to pay for certificate, and like Mr. Hakon has told me this before, like it's better if you actually pay for the certificate, because then you can use that as proof that you learn and you're like you're useful, and like you learn this and you commit to something. So I think it's actually very useful to get the certificate after you're done.
Yeah, cool. So it seems like we talked quite a bit about the online classes and the pandemic, and I think the discussion was quite informative. We both had different opinions. Like I'm more for online class and you're like a bit against it, right?
Yeah.
And but we found common ground, and we found that like Coursera courses, there's so many materials and resources that we can use in online class. And although online class might not last any longer, hopefully, I think we should provide like some tips for you guys just for the rest of the online class for this year, maybe. So do you have any tips for online class?
I think this online school year has made me realize that school isn't life, which was quite hard for me to actually realize, because I am all school. like I try to get a good grade, and like that's all I do, and like it's very stressful. But then like you actually need to go out sometime. You actually have hobbies, and you actually have to have like a creative outlet and things like that. So I think this year, one of my tips would be find hobbies and do it. Don't do school only. Like, find outside hobbies. Like, for me, I actually been into biking, which I have been before online school, but I've been like really into it because I have a friend that lives like 30 minutes away from me with bike. So I would bike there to her house and I would drop off like some books, some ice cream or whatever that's needed. So I think getting your movement in, getting hobbies, trying to do something other than school is very, very beneficial. How about you? Do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, that's quite an important thing in online class. I think having sports and having to move around, it's very important, because if you sit in front of a laptop or your computer for 7 hours a day and not do any physical work, that will be like, you'll just be like sleeping the whole day basically. Your body don't move. And yeah, I can't stand a day without moving around after online school, because like I can't work after that. And yeah, that's one really good tip, to get some physical activity and try to get a hobby, like Evelyn said. And maybe I can add my own tip. Use the time wisely. I mean, in online class, you have like so much time. There's so much time that is created from the convenience of online school. So like, you don't have to go to school. You don't need to commute. You don't need to take a bus or anything. So you're all in at home, and whenever you want to switch activities, you can just switch like right there within like a minute. So if in one moment I want to do homework, the other I want to do like my project, I can just switch like right away. And that little bits of time, I think that really like makes online school like really, really full of opportunity. Even if like you are a procrastinator, like most people actually, it's actually quite it's quite difficult to stop procrastinating. But if you can like learn to always stay by the deadline, then it really, really helps in this online class situation.
Yeah, I also want to mention that, like, if you're going through it and if you're like having a hard time on school, like, it's like completely okay and normal, because there was a time in online class where like it was like so hard for me, because like I was in my lowest of like motivation wise. And like, although like people might think that like oh yeah, like I know her, like she goes to competition and stuff like that, but like it's like we should normalize seeking for help. Okay, that's another tip. Normalize seeking for help, because it was like people tend to have this stereotype that like, oh, like you shouldn't ask for help. You want others to perceive you as the strongest, the best, the smartest, the brightest, you know, all these things. But then like it does not work like that, because when you're going through struggles and you're like in loss of motivations because of this pandemic, it is really hard to be by yourself all the time and not feel lonely. So I think it's imperative to seek for help, whether it's from your teachers, your counselors, your friends. Your friends are right there. And yeah, I think that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. I just like normalize struggles, normalize not being able to do stuff that day and then the next day pick it up. Like, it's okay if you have a bad day. It's okay if your grades aren't the best. Like, I think just a reminder that like we're in a pandemic. Like, I don't think we've internalized that yet, because we're in a pandemic. Like, isn't that crazy that we're literally have been home and have been quarantined for a year and we're not like going anywhere? We're not meeting my friends. I haven't met my friends. So just know that like you're doing your best. If you're doing your best, then you're okay. You're good to go. You don't need to be the best because you're in a pandemic, but then just try your best at it. So I want to like ask you, because you're like a new student and you have the perspective that I can't offer, like how is like being online for a new student? Like, how's like your social life? Like, was it hard getting to know people? Was it hard getting used to like teachers and things like that?
Absolutely. So I really think being a new student in online class is quite difficult because first of all, no social connections, and then you never been to campus. This is my fourth time being here, right? And you have to get used to the new curriculum because I moved from semi-international to international in this curriculum, and the shift is quite like bumpy. But for me, I've moved schools like 3 or 4 times already, from kindergarten to primary twice, and then to now. So it's the longest time I've ever been in the same school at once is for like 6 or 7 years, or maybe less than that, like 5. So for me, it's the usual. It's just moving school, but because of the pandemic, the online school, it's proven quite a challenge. But I think I'm coping with it quite well, considering I got through a lot of the subjects quite well, especially like the missing lessons because of the different curriculum, and I had to take like quite a few catch-up lessons in like math and chemistry, especially because chemistry is
the struggle of chemistry.
Yeah,
I mean, we can all relate to it. I think wow, it's only your fourth time being here. I think you'll enjoy it much more when it's offline, and like the fact that you're actually filming a podcast and you went to a competition yesterday where I met you also. I think that's really cool, and like you done great for this pandemic.
Yeah, thanks. Maybe it's time to wrap up the discussion. It's been quite fruitful, and I think we both had a lovely discussion. So that's it for the podcast, guys. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, let's get hamburgers after this.